Hi guys, it's Ben here, back with another video, and today we're going to be doing a history of episode. This history of episode is going to be on my favourite band, the Foo Fighters, and how they came to be one of the biggest bands of this era. But without further ado, let's get on with the video. The Foo Fighters are perhaps one of the biggest bands of the 21st century and have sold over 30 million albums worldwide. But where did it all start? It started with Dave Grohl wanting to get over the death of his former bandmate and best friend Kurt Cobain, who had died on April the 5th, 1994. Dave had been in Nirvana with Kurt right up to the point he passed, and Kurt's death hit him really hard and caused him to not want to play music or the drums. After months of mourning his friend's death, he decided he wanted to start playing again, and decided to take the songs that he had written over the years and record them at a 24-track studio that was very close to his house. During this time, a very famous musician called Tom Petty called him up and asked him to play drums for him on Saturday Night Live. Immediately, Dave said yes, as Tom Petty was a sort of hero of his. After the show, Tom gave Dave the opportunity to join the band if he wanted to, but Dave decided to pursue the recording of his tape that he had been recording at the 24-track studio and enter into this new band and not be the drummer for his icon, Tom Petty. Dave then felt he needed to find some bandmates, as he wasn't going to do it on his own. Then Dave stumbled upon a band called Sunny Day Real Estate, who he found out from a friend that they were playing their last show, and it was going to be their last show because they were breaking up. And so Dave went along with his friend to watch the band. Dave was intrigued by the drummer and the bass player from Sunny Day Real Estate and decided to give them the tape he had recorded by himself. He said, "Hey, maybe we can jam sometime." After this, they did indeed meet up at William's house, and Nate and William, who were the bass player and guitarist, William being the drummer and Nate being the bass player, jammed at William's parents' house. Afterwards, they went to William's parents' kitchen, and Dave said, "So, do you want to be in the band?" Nate straight away said, "Yes, I'll be in the band." But William was not so sure because he had a fear of playing in front of people. And Dave said, "Look, you should do it." And he said, "Well, I don't really think I'm the person to do it because, I'm scared of playing in front of people." And Dave said, "That's exactly why you're the person that has to do it," which convinced William, and they formed the Foo Fighters. The band wanted to get started playing shows and doing what the stuff that bands do. But Dave felt that the band needed something more, and to make the sound better, he wanted to bring in another guitarist. And he thought, well, who could I bring in? Sure enough, he thought, I'll bring in Pat Smear. Now, Pat Smear, of course, played for Nirvana with Dave, so he asked him, and Pat agreed and said, "Yeah, I'll be in the band." So the Foo Fighters became a four-piece rather than a three-piece. Then a legendary punk rock guitarist by the name of Mike Watt wanted Dave to come on tour with him. So then Dave said, "Hang on a sec, I'll come on the tour with you if you let me bring my band, the Foo Fighters." Mike agreed and said, "Yeah, of course, you can open up for us," and they embarked on their first ever tour as a band. After this tour finished, and after they'd been out for many months, the band decided they wanted to release an album, but instead of recording songs as a band, they decided to release the album that Dave had made on his own. The album did really, really well, and even picked up an MTV award for it. And did what most bands do when they bring out an album: they tour, and they toured for a very long time. They toured until November of 1996, but then when they got back, they decided they want to make another album. So they made the album The Colour and the Shape, which was produced by Gil Norton. The recording process didn't go that well, and that led to tensions in the band. This led to Dave deciding to record the drums tracks on his own because he felt that Will's performances weren't that good. But he did this without Will's knowledge. When Will found out, he was devastated and decided that he wanted to leave the band because Dave had done this behind his back. This led to the band being without a drummer, so they needed to find one quick because they just recorded this album. They're in the process of, going on tour because the album's out and they need to, sort of do something. So they looked around, they thought, well, who can we ask? So Dave said, I'll ask Taylor Hawkins. Now, Taylor Hawkins was playing drums for Alanis Morissette at the time. Dave called him up and said, "Hey, do you know any good drummers?" And Taylor said, "Well, I'll be in your band, let me try out, I'll be in the band." And from that point on, Taylor Hawkins has been the drummer ever since. This new drummer, they've got Taylor Hawkins, their new drummer, and the first rehearsal, Pat quits the band. Now, the Foo Fighters are left in an awkward position because they've got a new drummer that's brilliant, they can go out and start touring. but Pat's left the band. Anyway, so as I didn't have a guitarist, they begged Pat to stay. They said, look, can you stay, please? We have no one else. So Pat said, yeah, I'll stay for a couple more weeks. And it actually stretched out to 6 months, which gave them enough time to find a new guitarist. And that new guitarist was Franz Stahl, who had played in a band called Scream with Dave prior to Dave joining Nirvana. As Franz was in the band, they could go out on the road and they can tour. But after a while, they started to realise that although Franz was an amazing musician, he didn't really gel with the band and he didn't really connect with them musically. So they sadly decided to ask him to leave the band because they felt he wasn't working out in the band. In 1998, Dave and the band were at a point where people had come and gone, and it was only him, Taylor and Nate left. Until Nate decided to quit the band as well, only to wake up the next day and realise he'd made a big mistake and promptly joined the band the next day again. Heartache, Dave and the band decided to, start another album. Let's do this as a trio. Rather than get another guitarist in, let's just do this. So they recorded the album There's Nothing Else to Lose on the 2nd of November 1999, which was produced in Dave's basement in his house, and they won 3 Grammys for this album as well. Part of the sound of the Foo Fighters is a lot of guitar, and they decided that musically they needed more as a band. So they said, look, we don't know any good guitarists, so we're going to have to audition guitarists for the role. After loads of auditions, they found the man that they wanted in Chris Shiflett. Then became their permanent guitarist, and they went out on tour and did loads more albums. The band released the 4th album, One by One, in 2002. Then they released In Your Honour in 2005, followed by Echo, Silence, Patience and Grace in 2007, then Wasting Light in 2011, and then Pat Smear returned to the band as a fully fledged member, and then finally they released their latest album, Sonic Highways, in 2014. Releasing Sonic Highways, the band have continued to tour and rock the world with their amazing talents, and hopefully will do so for many years to come. And that's the history of the Foo Fighters, guys. If you enjoyed the video and feel it deserves it, I would really appreciate it if you were to leave a like and subscribe for more content like the video you've just seen. Thanks for watching, guys.